So tell me who you are and why am I talking to you?
All right, my name is Gary Fredo. I'm a retired LAPD police officer, actually a retired LAPD lieutenant out of Van Nuys. I think you're talking to me tonight because I was at the time a field sergeant back in 1997, March 8th, I think, Saturday, where we had a shooting over at the Petersen Automotive Museum, where I responded as the incident commander initially during a murder investigation.
And what does a field sergeant do?
So my duties have to do with being out in the street. I usually have 5 to 6 vehicles that I supervise. So there's 2-man cars. I'll probably have 6 of those units, but I could handle the entire division. It just depends upon what my other partner's doing. Usually each division will have 2 field sergeants for a watch. And it just, I'll go around and respond to major incidents that happen that I think that maybe having somebody there as a leader to be able to direct and set up things is important. Or I'll also respond if the officers get to a scene and they're not quite sure what they should do or they have questions, and they'll request a supervisor to come in and try to get maybe a second opinion or a buy-off on what they want to do.
Sure. All right, so walk us through the night of Biggie's murder. What do you remember from that night? Do you remember what you were doing before?
Yeah, okay, so I don't remember what I was doing before. Couldn't tell you. It looked
Just
like
a typical night?
Yeah, I didn't have anything on my log prior to that event, so I would have just been out driving around and, observing, or I could have been in the station doing some work, paperwork-wise, whatever. So I didn't have any major events that would have caused me to put something in my log. So I'm just out on patrol, looking for bad guys, looking for people to stop, looking for old ladies to help across the road or whatever it is that needs to happen out there that evening.
Got it. So then what happened? How do you get involved?
So
what's going on?
What I remember is that there was a call for service from the fire department.
911 emergency operator 412.
Hi, 52 here next door. We need you guys to respond to 5050 Wilshire Boulevard. We have an inspector on scene there, I guess with an overcrowding. They got shots fired there, and these people have guns and everything.
And they were requesting either backup initially and then assistance. So we came out over the air, fire department's requesting backup, and they gave the address there at the Petersen Museum with a loud, I think it was a 415 crowd, which means an unruly crowd that was being uncooperative. And then I think that upgraded to a fire department needs assistance. So they're not needing backup anymore, now they need assistance. So it's gotten kind of grave. So I remember when I showed up and there were thousands of people at this museum. It was obviously that it was overcrowded. It wasn't there wasn't enough security. There wasn't enough staff to handle what was going on. The crowd was extremely unruly and very unhappy with the fact that either A, the fire department was evicting them to leave, and B, is that the police department was present. So both of those items, we were not very popular at that scene. The most important thing for me at that time was to locate the firemen that were in need of assistance. So I think I requested some backup units. We got backup units at the scene. I remember I think I placed a couple at the door. So what I didn't want to have happen is more people coming in. So as people leave, they can't come back in. And anybody new that shows up, they can't come back in, and that allows us to kind of get in there and try to find out where these firemen are.
7060 to control. Show a code 4 at this time. We've located the fire department. They're okay, but we're still going to try to disperse this group.
Okay, they have quite a group there, don't they?
So that was myself. You can hear it. It's 7L60. I'm putting out a code 4, which means everything is okay. We've located the fire marshal that was missing within inside. So that was that report. Doesn't mean the code 4 with the crowd. It just meant I found the firemen. Now we got to work to get the firemen out and get them to safety.
Interesting.
LAPD operator 760, what are you reporting?
Yes, this is the Petersen Automotive Museum, and we need the police out here. We called once, and they came out here, but they left. They felt that it wasn't important or whatever, but we have a crowd of people out here that need
We need the police out here.
What's the problem over there?
We had a special event tonight, and we have a crowd of people in our parking structure that will not leave, and the event is over.
Okay.
In the meantime, I think we made contact with their security staff, and they were being cooperative, going, there's just too many of them. I said, well, just start directing them out the door. Just tell them the party's over, turn the music off, whatever it is you have going on here, it's done. How long we were in there, I don't know. I know we ended up making contact with the fire department. I think there was a fire marshal as well as an engine company that was there. We were able to get them out of the crowd, out into the parking lot area. And once they were safe, then we started working to get the rest of the crowd out. And I think it was at that time that we heard reports that there was a possible shooting out on the street. I didn't hear any gunfire, and none of the officers that were with me heard any gunfire. That's just what we were being told by some citizens that were running by us or coming by us. And then I think shortly thereafter, we started getting radio calls that there were shots fired out there at the Petersen Museum. So obviously we're a little concerned because I've got a handle on the officers that are with me right there within the Petersen Museum, but we've kind of had a perimeter now set up, and I'm not sure what else is happening up the street. And that was that became my next concern.
And people that don't know, the Petersen Museum plus its garage takes up an entire block.
It does, and it's right on the corner. So you're going to look down here, but then you also have to hit that corner and see what happens down the other side. So it's a large facility, and the roads were shut down, not because we shut them down, but because of the amount of people that were coming out onto the roadway just caused vehicles not being able to travel both north and south or east and west. So, yeah.
So you think that you guys were there on scene when Biggie was shot, or do you think that because there was another shooting that happened about 15 minutes beforehand where no one was shot, it was just a random guy shot a gun in the air?
911 emergency operator 597.
Can I talk to the,
Sir?
can I talk to the police, please?
This is the police department. What's going on there?
There's a Petersen Automotive Museum. There's sounds even like gunshots going on at this point.
Okay, are you near Wilshire Boulevard?
Yeah.
Okay, we've got the police on the way right now, sir.
Don't know.
Right.
Yeah, see, the part is I don't know. All I know is we were there when, or I was there, I should say, and the officers that I requested were there when we got the radio call that the fire department needed assistance. And so once I got there and saw, yeah, the fire department definitely needs assistance because we can't even find them, and I put out a request for additional units. So if there was a shot before we got there, it wasn't ever reported to us or me at that time. And it wasn't until after we started clearing everybody out and getting the fire department out that we were actually approached and said that there was a shooting outside. I don't know if that happened right before as we pulled in or once we're inside looking and it happened out in the street then.
Yeah, because I showed you there were some statements from a couple of just regular officers who showed up more around midnight, which is when the party got shut down. And that's when they first called, hey, we need help getting people out of here. And then when they showed up, they went up and the building security said, actually, we don't need you anymore. People are leaving.
Right.
But then, so they said, okay, so they left. So you see a squad car pull in and then leave.
And I think what happened there probably is somebody put a call in saying, hey, we got an unruly crowd. You need to, we need help dispersing it. It's a private party. Somebody in the party that lives there puts in the call. And the officers respond. It's a low priority call. It doesn't even come out over the air. Nobody really else knows that they're going there. It's being assigned via their MDT. They pull up, they make contact with the reporting party or who's ever in charge at that time and says, no, we've got this. They are dispersing and we're not going to need you. So I think that unit backed off and went back out on patrol and ended up having to come back later when the assistance call came out for the firemen.
So there was some speculation over the years that maybe the LAPD didn't want to get involved with crowd disbursement just because there was a concern if we show up, it could make it worse. Do you dispute that?
I do.
Yeah.
And the only reason is because I was there, and I can tell you that there was never any talk about letting the crowd, go about their business and kind of simmer down or wear themselves out. That's a tactic that was used much later on, actually most recently, I would say. It's not a tactic that we used back then. Secondly is even if it was in the current situation, if we've got officers or firemen or paramedics that are in there and they need help, we are not going to let the crowd muddle around. We are going to clear that crowd out, and we're going to get in there and make sure that those firemen and paramedics or whoever else is down and needs assistance is able to obtain that assistance, and we can only do that by dispersing and getting in there and clearing it out. So I can tell you right up front, I have no problem dispersing it. We did disperse it that evening. It took a little bit because there were so many people, and it took a lot of police units. I know I had to request additional units from Hollywood and Rampart to actually come over and help, and even a couple gang units to come over just to be able to hold the perimeter so we could interview any potential witnesses so we could get their information to get them over to detectives.